So my name is Kelsey Berryhill. I am a government records archivist at the State Archives of Iowa, which is part of the State Historical Society of Iowa. So for archivists, we aren't necessarily traditional historians. So our job is not to interpret documents. Our job is to preserve them. So for my job and how I do history is processing records, putting them in an order that makes sense, that is cataloging them, and then making them accessible to the public so that they can access, so they can do their own history. So we have two main access points. We have our online catalog, and through that you can access museum objects as well as items in our historical library, which are books and newspapers primarily, as well as our special collections, so manuscripts, personal papers, diaries, business records, photographs, all that good stuff, as well as state archives, so government records. So you can go on our website and access our catalog and search for things. So I think for the most part, people think that as archivists that our job is to just read through documents all day and do our own research. And when I was our reference librarian, a lot of people thought that I was doing my own family history. That is not the case. So while I do read through documents to gain context for that, that is not my primary job. My job is to put them into an order that makes sense so that people can access them. It's kind of like how a public librarian, they don't get to read books all day. There's a lot of other things. So my job, while I do get to look at a lot of cool stuff and get to see a lot of things, it's also a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of data entry, it's a lot of answering questions from patrons or donors or other state agencies. It's not just reading through old historic material. It's a lot of other stuff to make sure that others can read through that old historic material. Right now I'm working on Iowa State Penitentiary records, which are interesting, and those go back until 1849 or so, so those are interesting. There's lots of doodles of the wardens. There's one warden really liked to draw swans, so there's a lot of swans in all these other material. Prior to the ISP stuff, I processed our own records here at the State Historical Society. So we have, it's from 1863, I think. It was basically a list of donors to kind of start the annals of Iowa, which includes Samuel Kirkwood, the Civil War governor. So that's pretty cool. Being in government records, I work with a lot more modern records than a lot of people, than our special collections archivists, such as. So I work with a lot of board minutes and things that aren't super juicy and super cool, but there is some fun stuff in there. So I originally was going to, I went to school for anthropology and museum studies. And then in my museum class, one of them, and when I was in college, the rare book librarian came and talked to us. And all of my friends in that class was like, this is you in 10 years. So I pivoted, didn't do museums, went to library school instead. And then after grad school, just applied to any museum, special collections, library, archives job that was available. Then I just ended up in government records and archives. So I always really enjoyed history. I always liked working with material that way, but I knew that public libraries weren't for me. So I still wanted to be in the library, in the archives world, but not do public librarianship. So one reason that I think that students should go and visit their local library and archives is just to, in doing this work, you end up getting a lot of connections to people that were doing the same thing as you 100 years ago that you wouldn't necessarily think of. So I've worked with a lot of people doing their genealogy and family history. So when people start doing that and you're looking at land records and court records and you realize, oh, these people are just like me. It was just happening in 1905 instead of 2025. To realize, oh, people on the whole haven't changed all that much over time, just circumstances have.